This is the account of Shem's family line. 2 years after the flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad. And after he became the father of Arphaxad, Shem lived 500 years and had other sons and daughters. When Arphaxad had lived 35 years, he became the father of Shelah. And after he became the father of Shelah, Arphaxad lived 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Shelah had lived 30 years, he became the father of Eber. And after he became the father of Eber, Shelah lived 403 years and had other sons and daughters. When Eber had lived 34 years, he became the father of Peleg. And after he became the father of Peleg, Eber lived 430 years and had other sons and daughters. When Peleg had lived 30 years, he became the father of Reu. And after he became the father of Reu, Peleg lived 209 years and had other sons and daughters. When Reu had lived 32 years, he became the father of Serug. And after he became the father of Serug, Reu lived 207 years and had other sons and daughters. When Serug had lived 30 years, he became the father of Nahor. And after he became the father of Nahor, Serug lived 200 years and had other sons and daughters. When Nahor had lived 29 years, he became the father of Terah. And after he became the father of Terah, Nahor lived 119 years and had other sons and daughters. After Terah had lived 70 years, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. This is the account of Terah's family line. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran became the father of Lot. While his father Terah was still alive, Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans, in the land of his birth. Abram and Nahor were both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. She was the daughter of Haran, the father of both Milcah and Iscah. Now Sarai was childless because she was not able to conceive. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. Terah lived 205 years, and he died in Haran. The Lord had said to Abram, "Go from your country, your people, and your father's household to the land I will show you. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you, and whoever curses you I will curse, and all peoples on earth will be blessed through you." It's quite a remarkable interruption, isn't it? We are being introduced to this family line. We've had a long list of births and deaths and children, and then we arrive at Abram and his father Terah, and Terah has led the family out of Ur, but has only got so far before they've stopped. They were on their way to Canaan, and then we find out that that journey is because God had said to Abram, "You need to get up and leave your land and go to the land I will show you, and as you do that, I am going to make you into a great nation." And what follows now is incredible. Not just that he's going to make him into a great nation, but actually that all the peoples on earth will be blessed through Abraham. Here is the channel through which God is going to bring his blessing for the rebellious people of this world. And so it's very much about what God is going to do for Abraham, but Abraham has to then go as God has commanded. And so we read, "So Abraham went as the Lord had told him, and Lot went with him. Abraham was 75 years old when he set out from Haran. He took his wife Sarai, his nephew Lot, all the possessions they had accumulated, and the people they had acquired in Haran, and they set out for the land of Canaan, and they arrived there." That verse just tells us they set out and they arrived. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of miles. This is a massive epic journey, going to a place that they would have never visited before, and quite a remarkable span of time would be covered just in those few comments there. Abraham travelled through the land as far as the site of the great tree of Moreh at Shechem. At that time the Canaanites were in the land. The Lord appeared to Abraham and said, "To your offspring I will give this land." So he built an altar there to the Lord who had appeared to him. So God had told Abraham to go, and the next thing we hear from God is that he appears to Abraham when he has gone and arrived, and promises the land to Abraham's offspring. And Abraham's response is to build an altar to worship, to sacrifice there. From there he went on towards the hills east of Bethel and pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. Then he built an altar to the Lord and called on the name of the Lord. So again, just as Abel had done, Adam and Eve's son, just as those descendants of Seth had done, calling on the name of the Lord, here is Abraham following in those footsteps. Then Abraham set out and continued toward the Negev. Now there was a famine in the land, and Abraham went down to Egypt to live there for a while because the famine was severe. As he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his wife Sarah, "I know what a beautiful woman you are. When the Egyptians see you, they will say, 'This is his wife.' Then they will kill me, but will let you live. Say you are my sister, so that I will be treated well for your sake, and my life will be spared because of you." When Abraham came to Egypt, the Egyptians saw that Sarai was a very beautiful woman. And when Pharaoh's officials saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and she was taken into his palace. He treated Abraham well for her sake, and Abraham acquired sheep and cattle, male and female donkeys, male and female servants, and camels. But the Lord inflicted serious diseases on Pharaoh and his household because of Abraham's wife Sarai. So Pharaoh summoned Abraham. "What have you done to me?" he said. "Why didn't you tell me she was your wife? Why did you say she's my sister, so that I took her to be my wife? Now then, here is your wife. Go take her and go." Then Pharaoh gave orders about Abraham to his men, and they sent him on his way with his wife and everything he had. So Abraham went up from Egypt to the Negev and with his wife and everything he had, and Lot went with him. Abraham had become very wealthy in livestock and in silver and gold. From the Negev he went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier. So Abraham has made this remarkable journey from Ur to Canaan in response to the promise of God. And then there's famine, and he heads down to Egypt, and he lies and gets himself in a right mess. And you're kind of thinking, right, so Abraham is not some righteous, sinless man who is always good. He's flawed, he's failed, and yet he's received God's promise. And what's remarkable was in Egypt, God fulfills the promise he made to Abraham while Abraham is failing. God has promised that whoever cursed his people, cursed Abraham and his descendants, would be cursed. And as Pharaoh then takes Abraham's wife into his palace, the Lord afflicts them as they act in a way that is threatening to Abraham, even though it's innocent in the sense that they don't know that Sarai is Abraham's wife. God shows his faithfulness to his side of this promise, and this is the gospel for us at work. God is faithful to faithless people. God is faithful to the weak and the flawed, like Abraham. Abraham believed God, and it was credited to him as righteous. He did not become righteous fully. He did not live a perfect life, but because he trusted God's promise. And so he had left Ur to go to Canaan. But he made mistakes here. He got things wrong, and yet God kept his end of the bargain by cursing the Egyptians as they were treating Abraham badly. So from the Negev, Abraham went from place to place until he came to Bethel, to the place between Bethel and Ai, where his tent had been earlier. And there he built where he had first built an altar. There Abraham called on the name of the Lord. And here again is this theme then, that as Abraham follows the command of God in terms of the promise, but is flawed and failed, he comes and builds another altar. What's happening on the altars? It's a place where he calls on the name of the Lord. It's a place where sacrifice is offered. It's a place where there's a means of meeting God as one dies on behalf of the sinful person. And we just see Jesus here, don't we? Jesus, who is the fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham, the seed through whom all nations will be blessed. Jesus, who is the perfect sacrifice, who laid down his life that we might be forgiven, who is our bridge to God, and through whom we can call on the Father. And Abraham then is mapping out for us the life of faith. And it's encouraging, isn't it, that as he's flawed, as he lacks courage, as he makes a big mess, God is merciful and holds on to him. But Abraham, because he is believing, comes back to the Lord and seeks forgiveness and mercy, confesses sin and calls on his name again. And here's the path for us. And this is the difference ultimately between a Christian and a non-Christian. A Christian is someone who believes God's promises, keeps coming back to the cross, keeps seeking God. A non-Christian might be very religious, might be very nice, but there's no sense of obeying and believing the promises of God. There's no sense of trusting in Christ. There's no sense of calling out for forgiveness. And so Abraham here is a helpful model for us as we learn from this flawed man about the life of faith. And